Hey y'all, Coach Eric here. So I just wanted to make a short video talking about the difference between when you would like to be nuanced versus when you would like to be more simple, keeping things on the simple side when it comes to specifically diet and exercise, right? So with exercise, I believe you need to keep that as nuanced as possible. The reason I say that is because technically there's a lot of boxes that we're supposed to be able to check as far as physical movement. So you want to be strong, you want to be flexible, you want to have a good range of motion, you want to be explosive within the entirety of that range of motion, or certainly as much of it as possible. You want to have endurance on top of all that. There's so many boxes that you have to check, and we're talking about for each different muscle group all over the entire body, right? So that's a lot of boxes in and of itself, and that's before you even start to talk about intensity, tempo, different angles, and variations like that, or modalities as coaches call them. So when you put all that together, you have to stay nuanced with exercise because, again, there's just a lot of boxes to check. And so it really falls on the individual to be as versatile as possible in their training abilities, or their training patterns, so to speak, so that they can continually check as many of those boxes as often as possible, right? So when it comes to exercise, you want to be nuanced. Trust me on that. If you don't use it, you lose it. When it comes to nutrition, on the other hand, you want to keep that as simple as possible. So nowadays I see people talking about keto versus non-keto, basically low carb versus high carb, fasting versus eating every couple hours, high protein versus, high fat, all these different types of diets. And one thing a lot of them have in common, a lot of these approaches is what I'd call them, one thing they have in common is that they're simply not sustainable, maybe for the short term, but definitely not for the long haul. And I think that's what people are missing out on, or that's what they're missing the point of, is, again, you want to be able to do things that are not only sustainable, but hopefully replicable as well. Because if somebody sees you succeeding on that health and fitness front, and you're getting results, and you're getting bigger, faster, leaner, stronger, and they want to ask, what you've been up to, what better way to show yourself, let alone them, that you've got that material down than if you could turn around and explain it right to them at such a degree to where now they can go and execute and experience similar, if not identical, results, right? That's mastery right there. And so when you're talking about the nutrition portion, you got to keep things simple, because you have to look at food as substrate. And I know that might seem, too black and white, or too cold, or too depersonalized for some people. But again, if we're having, and I'm talking about the individual, if you're having fitness struggles, metabolic health struggles, that are directly tied to what you're taking in for food and how often you're doing that and how much you're doing that, then you have to consider that back to the basics approach. Like, what other options do you have left besides making things more complex, which is moving in the exact opposite direction that I'm talking about. So if we look at making things more simple, how do you get back to the basics with eating? So engage in repetitive eating. Maybe you're a person that likes to go out and try different foods and have different experiences and try different recipes. That's great if you're operating from a place of metabolic strength, metabolic flexibility, where you're at a healthy weight, you're happy with how your body looks, you're happy with how your body performs, and you're consistent on that front. If that's the case, then go ahead and do all that. But if you're struggling with any of those, then again, you need to make it simple again. You need to get back to the basics, at least temporarily. And so engaging in repetitive eating, where maybe you shrink down the variety of what you eat. You're increasing the variety of things you do on exercise, you're shrinking down possibly the variety of things that you're eating on your diet when you're trying to rein things in. And so that alone starts to help you become what's called more intuitive with your food selections, right? Because maybe if you just have like this small, selection of foods that you eat, for a couple for protein, a couple for carbs, a couple for fat, that you can rely on to get your calories and macronutrients for the day, right? So let's say you're consistent with that, and you know that now a 3-ounce chicken breast has roughly 21 to 22 grams of protein in it. You know that a slice of bread has roughly 100 calories, a banana roughly 100 calories, an apple 90 calories, So if you've Googled and seen and just come across this info plenty of times, because you're eating the same foods more or less repeatedly in this journey, this part of your journey, Now, guess who doesn't have to look up the information on a banana, on an apple, on a chicken breast, on a cup of spinach that second week or that third week or that fourth week? Now you just start to know. You can just look at your plate of food and know. And then you can do the math and say, okay, after I'm done with this plate of food, I have roughly this much that I can eat, for the rest of the day. And boom, you start to become intuitive with your selections, right? Then you can start to introduce that complexity back into your diet as you get to where you're trying to go with your progress. And so again, it's supposed to be a short video. I ended up going a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I hope I cover that, thoroughly enough for people. Be extra nuanced with your fitness, your exercise in particular, because you pretty much want to be a jack of all trades, and it's for the if you don't use it, you lose it principle. So we want to keep our body fully capable for as long as possible. So be nuanced there. When you're trying to rein things in and get somewhere else and positively influence your health and fitness through nutrition, keep it simple as possible. Do not get caught up in all the do's and don'ts of social media, because everybody has an opinion on things, including myself, admittingly. But at the end of the day, keep it simple. Trust me, when it comes to the nutrition in particular, because there's just too much information out there. And a lot of times diving headfirst into that and trying out different things without even giving them their proper, chance to run their course, that's just a recipe for kind of staying stuck in that hamster wheel, as a lot of people watching are probably familiar with. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. If you guys got anything out of that or got any questions even, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, you guys have a great rest of your day. Coach out.